Tsuburaya Productions hired me, little old me, to draw Ultraman Dyna for the official Ultraman card game. Like, what? What? Now, I've drawn Ultras before. In fact, the first year of Tokutember, I drew a series of original insect-themed Ultras. But I've never drawn Ultras for the actual company that created the series. Like, what? This thing is pulling down my shirt, so I don't think you want to see that. Like, this wasn't even on my bucket list. I was born in DC, grew up here in Maryland. I'm half Chinese, half Japanese, but I don't speak or read either of those languages. So working for Tsuburaya Productions wasn't even on my radar. It's not that I don't think my work is good enough. I just didn't think they would reach out to illustrators outside of Japan. So when Jeff Gomez of Starlight Runner Entertainment DM'd me and asked if I would be interested in contributing art to the official Ultraman card game, I was a little skeptical. The timing was kind of weird. The week that Jeff reached out to me was the same week that a scammer had sent me some fake checks. I did a whole video about that, linked here, I think in this card somewhere. But I did some poking around and Jeff is legit. So I said yes, because of course I did. Absolute yes. And then I ran around the house like a mad person because what? Like, even thinking about it now, it's just so surreal to me. It's so wild. But yeah, I got my assignment, Ultraman Dyna Flash Type, which is his base form. Tsuburaya sent some wonderful reference photos of the suit from all angles so I could see the design. I did need another angle of the head that wasn't available in the references, but I'll talk about that in a bit. So I got my assignment, I got my references, I spent some time getting over my jitters, and then I got to work. These are the 3 sketches I sent off to Tsuburaya for approval. My general rule of thumb when sending sketches is to only send things that I'm excited to draw. I try to go for 3. Sometimes I only have 2 really good ideas and then I send them out for approval. If you give your client the chance to pick something that you're not 100% excited about and they choose that thing, now you're stuck with this mediocre idea that you're not really excited to jump into and to produce your best stuff. So give yourself the best chance to make the best art that represents your best ideas. They chose A, which I'm thankful for because that was my favorite idea of the 3, but I didn't want to send just one sketch because I didn't want them to think that, I was being lazy. So I could have done any of those 3. I would have been excited to do any of those 3, but I was particularly excited about A. And I'm really, really happy that they chose that one. For that angle, I tried to imagine what it would be like to see Ultraman Dyna getting ready for a fight in person. So that's why the camera angle is low and you're looking up at Dyna towering over you. The only problem is that all of the reference photos that I got for Dyna's face were filmed at eye level. So I didn't really get that lower chin angle. And I did a lot of image searching and I couldn't really get a good, clean view of that chin action down here. So I ended up getting a figurized plastic model of Ultraman Decker, who is sort of related to Dyna, just so I could get that lower chin angle when it came time to clean up my sketch. You'll notice that my interpretation of Ultraman Dyna does not skip ab day. I haven't really articulated this and I don't really think about it because when I draw, I just draw. But I guess my style has a little bit of a mix between the manga and anime that I enjoy watching and the comics that I grew up with into this mixture of me. And I wanted to bring both of those influences together in my interpretation of Dyna. So that's why I drew in all those muscles. Plus muscles are fun to draw anyway. Thankfully, Tsuburaya was very pleased with the line art. They just wanted the head jewel to be a little bit larger. So I sent back my corrections. They approved. On to coloring. First thing to do before you get all the fancy rendering and stuff is just flat the image, which means using basic blocks of color to separate the different objects in the composition. I don't have a background here. I was planning on just using a photograph of clouds that I took earlier in the day. But if there was a background in this, I would flat that as well, just so I could separate the character from the background, that kind of stuff. Because this is going to be a daylight scene, I use a warmish purple on a multiply layer as my shading color. When there's a hard transition, like if there's a corner, like you can see the corner in the chest area, I use a very hard line shadow. But for areas like the muscles, I tend to feather that out a little bit if I'm not doing a cell shaded technique. And for this piece, I kind of wanted to do softer shadows to really round out the muscle forms. But sometimes in the creases, I use a harder shadow to delineate where there's a harder transition between muscles and that kind of stuff. Highlights can really help bring roundness to a form, and it's especially fun to use when you're trying to define muscles and things like that. So this is perfect for this piece. I generally like to use add as the layer mode instead of screen, because I can get a hotter highlight with add, which is perfect for rendering shiny things, and ultras are super shiny. I usually use a bright yellow for areas where the sun is directly hitting the shape. So like the tops of the muscles or the side of Dyna's face. And on the opposite side of where the key light is, I'll usually use a blue hue to kind of pop the object out from the background. It's called a rim light. Rim lights don't always happen in nature, but it's a fun way to kind of round out a form and to pop it out from a background. There's no background here, so you don't notice it as much. But if there was like a cityscape behind Dyna, a rim light can help bring that character forward in your composition and help visually separate your hero character. I felt like my ink lines were just a little too dark, so I used a technique called color holds, which basically means coloring in the line art using a shade that's close to the adjacent color beneath it. In the blue sections, I used a sort of darker blue instead of straight black to kind of blend that line in with the surrounding colors. It sort of helps to soften the line art a little bit. I kept the outline black though, because I did want this still to feel like an illustration. Like, you know, I didn't want it to feel like a 3D rendering. The clouds come from a photograph I took with my iPhone. I got all this expensive photography gear, fancy cameras, all that stuff. Bam, cell phone, all it took. And there's enough resolution in a cell phone photo that I can resize without worrying about the clouds getting all pixely and gross looking. And there's no JPEG artifacting, so, you know, it looks great. It looks like I photographed it with a more expensive camera. Final step is to add some effects, which in this case is just a little bit of glow in the eyes and some shine on the sunny side of Dyna, just to brighten it up a little bit and to give it a little bit more pop. I also put a lot of glow in the color timer and the head jewel, just because. And that's how I drew Ultraman Dyna for the Ultraman card game, which still blows my mind. Much love to the entire Starlight Runner Entertainment team, to Jeff Gomez for reaching out, to EJ for recommending me, to Chrysula Artemis for coordinating between me and Tsuburaya Productions, to Mark Pensavale for taking care of me at San Diego Comic-Con, where I met so many ultras. I was not emotionally prepared when I went to San Diego to meet the suit actors. Like, there's this clip of me yelling, "Zero forever!" And right after that clip, after I clasped hands with Ultraman Zero, I was tearing up and I had to leave the show floor to avoid like crumbling in a pile and crying because I was just so overwhelmed. Like, this entire project has been absolutely amazing. I've only ever experienced Japanese culture through someone else's lens, through someone else's translation and interpretation. And to have the opportunity to work directly with the company that the godfather of tokusatsu created, that's something I will cherish forever. To have that direct connection, it's just, I don't know, it I can't quite, the words obviously the words fail me, but I can't quite articulate how much that means to me. So to Tsuburaya Productions, thank you so much for taking a chance on my work and giving me this opportunity. And hopefully this won't be the last time. The Ultraman card game is available now. Booster Pack 2, where my Dyna card features, drops January 24th, 2025. So look for it in your favorite game store. From me to you, the next time you're playing the Ultraman card game and you defeat your opponent thanks to my Dyna card, because of course you did, you're very welcome.